Hi everybody, I'm Kari Simpson and we're here at the Fresh Milk Food Politics Conference, and one of the speakers that we were just had the privilege of hearing is Hayley Lapalme, and she's with My Sustainable Canada. Now, Hayley, your involvement in the conference here today was a little bit off the beaten track because most of the conference speakers have been about the raw milk issue, which we've heard called weird and strange and all kinds of things. But you bring a different dynamic and a very different and important aspect to the conference, and you talked about what is going on in Canada, the need for us to change direction in how we do food distribution and how we support local farmers. Tell us a little bit about My Sustainable Canada.
So we're a national environmental organization that works on with organizations and with people to move towards more sustainable consumption. So one of the issue areas that we've identified is the food system. There's lots of opportunity for the food.
You're going to be busy a long time, my darling.
I think so. To basically to strengthen the local food system and to move us to a place where well, I guess a different place than where we are now, where the food system is really vertically integrated, which is kind of a jargony way of saying that a lot of companies have monopolized like a lot of the power and influence in the food system and are kind of regulating and acting as gatekeepers for who is able to move food through the food system and what consumers end up having.
Well, it's access to food too, isn't it? I mean, there's so many different components to your movement here. Mm-hmm. And I think when the average Canadian, or we'll limit it to British Columbian, starts thinking about it, and perhaps the awareness is growing now here in BC, but we are there are issues. We are susceptible to what the powers to be decide to let us have or not have as far as food choice. There is no autonomy as far as food goes, as we see with this conference, that people who want to access a healthy food product like raw milk can't do it. But you really, in your presentation, drove home the point that not only is there a whole bunch of middlemen involved in the distribution of food, but there are gatekeepers that are going to say, you can have this and you can have that, but we're not going to let you have any of this other stuff. Mm-hmm. Now, in this movement of My Sustainable Canada, you guys do a lot more work than just bring awareness to what's happening around food. Mm-hmm. You're actively trying to get products from local farmers utilized by institutions like hospitals and universities and those kinds of things, because we are losing, as you pointed out, and I have to be honest with you, I did not understand the numbers to be quite as impressive as they are, but how much money we're losing by importing the amount of food that we do from outside of Canada or British Columbia in this case.
Yeah, well, in addition to it being a kind of political reality that it's difficult to access some foods, because we have concerns with regulation and food safety that make some food difficult to access.
Well, and the corporate structures, what they decide we really need or don't need, right?
And I think that's the other piece of it, and I think that's where we've done a lot of work, is the kind of economic reality of the food system, which is that Canada is a huge country, massive, and we have a relatively small population, so food is traveling far. We don't have the same economies of scale, for example, as they do in the States to grow food. So what we see is a lot of difficulty to access local food or locally processed food because we're decreasingly making it or growing it in Canada. So when we, for example, are trying to help an institution source a value-added product, we find often their best choice is to go to the States. Or not their best choice, but what they are currently doing is they're going to the States.
It's a convenient choice. They know the product's going to be there.
It's less expensive.
They're the bottom line, right?
Yeah.
But what you're saying, the reality is, if you can create enough demand, and that might mean bringing 2 or 3 different organizations together to the carrot farmer, for instance, and saying, look, we have this demand, can you fill this need? So you're brokering basically a cooperative buying system between the farm and these various institutions that need food.
Yeah, we basically believe that we can use the buying power of institutions, leverage that to create more social good. So if when they think of spending $1, they're thinking of feeding a patient or feeding a student. Well, we're saying, okay, when you spend $1, you're not just feeding a patient or feeding a student, you also have the opportunity to invest in the local food system.
And support a farmer and a local economy and all those other things.
And all those other things. So we think that because of the size of their buying power, that institutions can help to lead this kind of transformation in our food system, where we do slowly make it possible to access more local processors and local farmers, because there's a willingness to work with them. So maybe we're setting up we're building slowly a parallel food system with the existing one, or working within the existing one, so that, for example, food distribution happens in a more regionalized way, so that when you contract a caterer or food service operator to run your facility, it doesn't necessarily mean that all your cheese is going to come from Quebec, or that all of your apples will come from Washington, but that there is a willingness to build local value chains.
To source locally. And what a great thing, what a great gift to the farmers and the food producers of British Columbia, because you're saying buy local. And you also brought in the component of education, and it is really retraining people on how to think, what to look for in the stores, what to consider, like the catering company. Am I going to hire a catering company that can just do whatever, or are they going to go and get the products from my neighbors, the people who are also contributing to our economy here? Great presentation, Hayley. Thank you so much for all your good work with My Sustainable Canada, and thank you for appearing here at this conference so I could learn more.
My pleasure.
Fascinating discussion.
Great.
The Fresh Milk Food Politics Conference was an enormous success. Not only did it bring people from all over the country together, but it opened the door of dialogue for all stakeholders. The Fresh Milk Food Politics Conference facilitated a stellar panel of speakers that were effective in the crucial role of providing information and education to attendees. Most importantly, the Fresh Milk Food Politics Conference equipped concerned and informed citizens with the essential tools necessary to engage in the debate and bring about the needed changes that are vital to the health of all Canadians. None of this would have been possible without the generous support of our sponsors. Therefore, it is with sincere appreciation and gratitude that we acknowledge those who made this important event possible.